Mayo, obviously, against Leitrim, I mean, 520 to 11 points, 24 points. I mean, look, listen, I mean, there's no real... I don't know what to really say, to be honest, at this stage. Like, is there a point even talking about the game?
Look, Aaron, it's just absolutely embarrassing. It's just absolutely embarrassing. The biggest mismatch of the century. I know the Hammered like won the first round, but that game Sunday was just disgraceful for all accounts. Cavan man Terry Hyland along the sideline, just standing there like he just seen a ghost. Just horrendous stuff. Where there's either, like, it doesn't benefit Mayo, it does not benefit Leitrim. Just the GAA should be embarrassed. They should just be embarrassed. There needs to be something badly changed between Desi Dolan commentating in that game and the performance Leitrim showed in. I don't know what was worse. Like, Jesus, it was just horrendous stuff, absolutely horrendous. And like, Mayo were just laughing. I know we had no shake kick at one point, but like he didn't even need to put in a performance there yesterday. It was just horrendous. I just keep saying it. Should we look at the ladies' approach to this situation? Should there be a senior, intermediate, and a junior championship just to get something sorted? Leitrim, I'm hearing they're not even getting 15 a training these days. You know, so it's absolutely embarrassing from all accounts. Leitrim's going to be scratching their heads. Terry Hyland will probably walk this week. It's just, where do you go? Where do you go? Like, what? Like, it's so disheartening because, like, I have no doubt the Leitrim lads are working their arses off all year, and that's how they finish up for another year. They'll not see a kick of a ball now till what, next January or February if we're lucky, whatever way this COVID situation goes. You know, it's just horrendous stuff. And like, I think, even on the commentary, like, like the likes of Desi Dolan, like Desi was saying, just not one of Leitrim's better days, and it's a great point for Leitrim. Just absolute nonsense, like, and just going on and like probably just trying to save his job at the end of the day by trying to give Leitrim a bit of praise. It was just horrendous stuff, absolutely horrendous. And you know, the GAA, it badly needs a structure. The book needs to be ripped up and just completely. A massive plan needs to be put in place because the poor Leitrim lads, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what your thoughts on it are, Aaron, but it's just horrendous.
Yeah, no, like, I agree with you definitely, even with the commentary. Like, one thing that kind of surprised me was even kind of when they were doing their pre-match analysis, and even when like Desi and I think was Marty Morrissey, I think, in commentary, were like kind of in the first kind of 5 to 10 minutes, it was almost like they were trying to sell us that this game was going to be competitive, that this was going to be an interesting game. They were doing their pre-match analysis and all the rest, and kind of saying, oh, well, maybe if Leitrim do this or maybe they do that. I mean, like, when they had that debate at half time, I was kind of thinking, like, are we really surprised? Like, I mean, Mayo beat Sligo by 20 points. Sligo beat Leitrim. Like, Mayo are probably in top 3, top 4 teams in the country. Yeah. With all due respect, Leitrim are probably the worst team in the country right now anyways. And they've also lost a lot of players. Like, Ryan O'Rourke doesn't seem to be part of the squad anymore. So it is just baffling as well, like the way that it all seems to be. You know, like RTE and these other TV broadcasters, like, they're so happy to point the finger at other people, but yeah, like, they're, like, you know what I mean? They're kind of buying along with it until it's almost too late, and then they're like, then they change their minds. It's a bit weird.
Absolutely crazy. And I suppose the saddest thing about the whole thing is Mayo and Leitrim, that was on a national broadcaster for everyone to see. Everyone was obviously going to be watching the Euros. Everyone's going to be watching the Donegal game after that. And everyone's seeing Leitrim getting absolutely hockeyed out the gate. I know there's that bit of affiliation towards Mayo with RTE. RTE just love singing Mayo's praises and having them on week in, week out. It just wasn't fair in Leitrim. It done them no good. And then it's just back to the drawing board for next year. And God knows what next year will even bring for them. Like, if they're struggling for numbers of training, if it's this and it's that, it's just, I think Gary Reynolds was saying to me, it's just an absolute embarrassment. They don't know where to really go from there. You know, he was another fella that was dropped in recent years. Like, you don't drop your best players. Emma Mulligan was dropped as well. Like, you know, it's Cavan man Terry Hyland that's in there at the minute. Terry's a stern boy. He doesn't take any messing. He doesn't seem to like these fancy dance sort of players or these lads. But at the end of the day, Emma Mulligan is the best footballer Leitrim have ever produced. And what does Terry go and do? He drops him because he doesn't like his attitude or something. And same with Gary Reynolds. Them boys live and breathe Leitrim football. Like, I had Emlyn Mulligan on there for a podcast a couple of months ago, and he had Leitrim football's constantly on his mind. He's a driven book. He'd be committed to the cause. And what does Terry go do? Bye. I don't like the way you go on. Like, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Gary Reynolds, I'm looking forward to chatting to him this week because no doubt he'll have a lot to say about it this week in the podcast. And it's just, it's very poor. And like, you know, the RTE boys, like, you know, the Marty trying to praise the Leitrim performance and, oh, they never give up. They never done this, or like a fair play to them for keeping on going. You don't do me a favor. You know, it's just awful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely is. Like, I mean, it's a hard one to watch as well. Like, and I think as well, like, because obviously, like, Joanne Canwell was obviously having the conversation with the lads at half time, and she was saying like she's afraid, or not that she's afraid, but a lot of these counties, like when the tier 2 discussion is coming up, a lot of these counties are probably afraid that they're going to get left in the dark. And that's where I think these TV companies and even, you know, myself and even yourself as well, like as people who run their own kind of GAA podcasts or whatever, is to promote these lesser counties, like give them the time. Like, let's, like, even with Joe McDonough, some of the hurling games there at the weekend, like there was some cracking games on there, some cracking drama. Like, I mean, it would have made so much more sense to have one of them games on rather than a Mayo going up against the Leitrim. Like, I know obviously there's a vast majority of Mayo fans, you know, all across the world, and they want to watch their county and they want to see analysis. That's obviously why they show a lot of the Dublin games and a lot of the Kerry games as well. But I think for the rest of the country, and I think even for people in general, like, we want to see competitive games. And like, I don't know, like, I think that the responsibility needs to be not just the GA, but I think it needs to be split all across the board.
Yeah, but like I was saying this to you a couple of minutes ago, Aaron, like, why can't we actually adopt the ladies' approach? Like, well, okay, let's just put this into practice, right? Let's just say in the junior football championship, the likes of, say, okay, even look, like, I'll use Division 4 as a template. Let's say Leitrim, Wicklow, ourselves, who else? Tipperary, Waterford, London in a junior championship or something lines of that. Intermediate, you have the likes of, I don't know, Division 2 teams, Roscommon, Galway to a lesser extent. Who else is there? Cork, Meath, Division 1 or senior, Dublin, Kerry, Mayo, them sort of teams. So why can't that be done? Like, I know maybe lesser teams and stuff, but like, adopt it and see how we get on, because like, it's like, as you said rightly, Mayo played Sligo, 20 points. Mayo played Leitrim yesterday, 20 plus points. A waste of time. Benefits nobody. Like, it's just, we're going to probably see another game or two like that. As the boys were saying, like, thank God for that Derry Donegal game, because it probably saved, which was probably another wretched weekend of football. Thank God for that game. Trial and error, try all these things, because the GAA, they don't really like changing their methods. They probably don't listen to me or you, unfortunately, as much as we give out about it. But it's just like, even seeing Joe Brawley just giving out about the whole thing yesterday. Like, I know he obviously has his grievance with RTE at the minute, but he's not far wrong. Like, it was very bad stuff, and you just don't really know where you go from there. And like, it's just the fact that every Tom, Dick and Harry was probably either on a bar stool, sitting at home, looking at that Leitrim performance. And yeah, I could see a lot of Leitrim boys probably packing their bags after that, because even, you know, it's very bad vibes to them, unfortunately.
Yeah, like, and yeah, it's just such an interesting one as well, because like, even with Mayo in particular, like, obviously they've been very, you know, dominant over the past couple of years, like this year in particular in the Connacht Championship. And yeah, like last year they were very dominant, and you're kind of looking at it, and Leitrim and Sligo, like, especially 2 Division 4 teams, like, it makes so much more sense for those two counties to play each other. And I think as well, when you look at the format in hurling, like, you have 11 teams in there at the start of the year in the championship, and about 6 or 7 of them probably have a real chance in their opinion at winning All Ireland. Like, football, the Gaelic Football Championship is probably only going to start getting really competitive now, and we're down to 12 teams. So like, I think they need to kind of do something similar, because although like the hurling isn't senior, intermediate, junior, it kind of is in many ways, the way that John McDonough is intermediate, Christy Ring is junior, and then obviously you have your lower levels underneath. So I don't see why there's any reason why they can't do that. And look, listen, you can keep the provincial championships, maybe run them at the start of the year, run them as like pre-season tournaments or whatever, like get rid of your McKenna Cups and your McGrath Cups and all this. But like, surely they do need to do something like that. Like, Cora Staunton obviously said it. I Daniel St. Ledger on my podcast, who made a very good point, former Carlow footballer, about that as well. So like, I think, and it is mad because the GAA, they changed the game so much. They changed the rules, and they changed the bring in the advanced mark and the kick out mark and, all the advantage rule and all this. But in terms of the actual problems, like, they're creating problems when there aren't problems, and when there are problems, there are no solutions. It's all just a bit of a mess. We could go on about it, I suppose.
Oh no, yeah, 100%. Like, it's probably for another day's chat, but no, it's just very disheartening. Like, and like when you see a game like that yesterday, it's very bad it's just disheartening, because no GAA fan wants to be watching that. Nobody just wants to be like sitting at home watching that. It was just really, really bad. What says Leitrim's in a junior championship playing the likes of, like we could probably show, even if we tried it next year, maybe ourselves, but like say the likes of maybe Sligo or Wicklow or some of them teams, or Carlow, just to see a more competitive game. Because like, if you had something like that to aim for, like I know with the championship draw there a couple of years ago, I think Emlyn Mulligan was still in the Leitrim panel, and I think he was doing the draw, and like Leitrim were pulled out against Roscommon for the championship, and Emlyn Mulligan, honestly today, says it's absolutely disheartening and I don't really know where we go from there. And that was the night of the championship draw, because they knew they were going to get bet. If Leitrim had the likes of if they're in like a junior championship and they're like drawn against the likes of a Wicklow or a Carlow or some of them teams, Waterford, that's something to work towards, because they know they have a chance of actually potentially beating them and furthering themselves in going to training, enjoying training and working towards something. Like when Mayo, like when, say the week leading up to this, like Terry Hyland must just been thinking like I see, like I know Terry well. He's standing along the line there, just like we're 10 minutes in, there were 7 points down. He looked a bet man because he knew what was coming, and look what happened. It's there to be seen by the GAA, and they're just happy to keep going with it. The definition of insanity, Aaron, continuing to do the same thing over and over again and expecting the same results. The GAA is a disaster to it. There's no two ways about it.